Discover the heartwarming moment a black maid saved a life. His incredible secret was revealed. Lila woke up to the sound of the rooster's crow piercing the fragile dawn, the sun still yawning over the sleepy southern town. Every morning, the world felt heavy on her shoulders, but today was different. Today was marked by the terror of impending change, and her heart beat like a bass drum in her chest as she hurriedly prepared breakfast for her 2 children. Their laughter was her morning joy, a harmonious melody that helped dull the ache of her own struggles. Behind the gilded gates of the ancestral mansion where she worked, Lila tirelessly scrubbed floors and polished silver. Each day she donned her apron, like a shield against the world's weight, going about her responsibilities with a fierce determination to carve out a better life for her kids. It was in this sprawling antebellum mansion, filled with echoes of a distant past, that Lila found a strange companion in Charles, an elderly war veteran. They often shared conversations that felt like warm sunlight on a chilly day, illuminating the shadows of their lives with humor and wisdom. But that fateful afternoon, while serving dinner, chaos shattered their quiet connection. Charles suddenly collapsed, his voice silenced amidst the clatter of forks and plates. Lila sprang into action, heart racing as she rushed to his side. "Charles, please, stay with me." Tears streamed down her cheeks as she performed CPR, calling on every ounce of strength within her. The emergency room felt like a war zone, filled with jagged breaths and the scent of antiseptic. Before she knew it, Thomas, the estranged son Charles had mentioned only in passing, stormed in. He was a businessman, polished and prestigious, but Lila noted the glint of disdain in his eyes as he faced her, his father's keeper. Accusations hung in the air. She could feel the undercurrent of prejudice bubbling beneath the surface, as if her worthiness was being questioned. "What do you think you're doing here?" he snapped, eyes icy. Just as Lila felt the weight of the world pressing against her chest, she found something, a weathered journal tucked in the drawer beside Charles's hospital bed. Hesitantly, she opened it, and the pages whispered stories of war, love, and lost connections, intertwining with her own family's past in a way she never could have imagined. The ink bled the truth over the harsh divisions of their society, revealing the deep-rooted struggles they shared. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the revelation unfolded, Lila's heart swelled with a mix of anguish and hope. She stood at the crossroads of decision. Should she reveal the words written by Charles, risking further alienation from Thomas? Or could this shared history be the very bridge needed to heal the frayed edges of their community? Tension enveloped the room, a tightrope walk between understanding and the divisive walls built over generations. Would they be willing to confront their intertwined pasts and venture toward a future molded by compassion? Tomorrow held the promise of change, ringing loud in the silence that lingered, and Lila's heart raced with the possibility of forging connections that had long been buried. Could love and acceptance finally triumph over prejudice, or would their histories cast shadows too deep to cross? The hospital room felt impossibly small, filled with the weight of silent tensions. Lila clutched the journal tightly, her fingers brushing over the familiar script as if it held the key to a past that could intertwine her future with Charles' estranged son. The way Thomas glared at her made her heart race, a mixture of fear and determination flooding her veins. "Charles loved you," she said, voice steady despite the storm brewing inside. "He spoke of you often, his pride clear as day. You should be here for him, not arguing with me." The words hung in the air, and for a moment, Thomas looked taken aback, his expression softening. Lila took a half-step closer, wanting to close the distance between them. He told me stories that matter, that connect us. Your father, she hesitated, the gravity of what she was about to say weighing heavily on her. He saw the world differently, through the lens of love, despite the battles he fought. It was as if a dam broke inside Thomas. The cold, hard facade softened, if only for an instant, revealing a flicker of the son who had once loved his father. You don't know anything about me or my father, he replied, but there was no bite in his voice, only a shroud of pain. The anger that had fueled him seemed to dissipate like smoke drifting through the air. I know he is still fighting for a connection, Lila insisted, feeling emboldened by her conviction. He wanted you to know about the man he was, the choices he made, and the love he carried despite everything that tore them apart. She could feel her heart racing as hope blossomed. Could this really be the moment for understanding? The room fell silent, the rhythmic beeping of the machines around them filling the void. Lila opened the journal again, a page adorned with drawings, sketches of battles and joyous faces. She turned it toward Thomas, and as his eyes scanned the pages, Lila's breath caught. "What is this?" he asked cautiously. Doubt still flickered in his eyes, but curiosity had begun to take root. "Stories we should have shared long ago," Lila replied, her voice barely above a whisper. "Your father wrote about his struggles with fear and love, with hope and disappointment. It's all here." She pointed to a sketch depicting the camaraderie of soldiers, different races standing side by side, unwavering against the odds. He believed in unity, even when it cost him. Thomas's gaze locked onto her, searching for something hidden beneath her determined exterior. In that moment, Lila understood they were standing on a precipice, teetering between despair and understanding. "Tell me," he whispered, almost breaking. "What did he say?" Lila's breath hitched, the path before her clearer than ever. This was their chance, her chance to bridge a divide that had felt insurmountable. As she recounted Charles's tales, she no longer felt the weight of being merely a maid. Instead, she stood as a messenger, a flicker of hope for both men. But just then, the doctor entered, breaking their fragile connection. "Mr. Blackwood has stabilized, but it's a long road ahead," he said, unaware of the unspoken bond forming between the two. Thomas's resolve hardened again, the weight of responsibility etched on his face. "I have to go make arrangements," he said abruptly, glancing at Lila with a mix of gratitude and uncertainty. "But I want to know what else he wrote." As he walked out, Lila felt a flicker of anticipation. She could still sense a shift, a fragile thread of connection beginning to weave between them. Yet, with each step Thomas took away from her, so did the certainty of whether they could overcome their past. The door closed behind him, leaving Lila standing in the aftermath of what she had dared to build. She clutched the journal to her chest, her heart a cacophony of hope and fear. Would their shared stories be enough to bridge the chasm between them? Or would the echoes of history drown out their cries for acceptance and unity? As the sun cast shadows across the room, Lila couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning. Tomorrow would reveal if too. Broken souls could heal in the light of shared truths, or if they would remain lost in the darkness of untold histories. Lila stared at the journal, the world around her fading into a blurred background. The smell of antiseptic filled her nose, but it was the lingering scent of hope that wrapped around her heart. She flipped through the pages again, every sketch telling a story that needed to be heard. The colors, the smudges, even the worn-out edges spoke of a life lived fully, a life that deserved to be remembered. After Thomas left, Lila found herself drifting into a quiet reverie. The rhythmic beeping of the machines had transformed into a heartbeat, echoing not just in the room, but also in her own chest. She realized how important it was to forge this connection, not only for Charles, but for Thomas too. What if this journal could change everything for them? Just then, she heard footsteps approaching. As the door opened, It was not Thomas, but a nurse, a middle-aged woman with kind eyes and a warm smile. "You're still here?" the nurse asked, her voice soft and inviting. "It must be tough." Lila looked up, feeling the weight of the world in her chest. "I want to help. I want to make things right for him and Thomas," she said, her voice barely a whisper. "That's lovely," the nurse replied, moving closer. "Connections can heal us in ways we don't always understand. You're fighting for this man's story. Don't forget to fight for your own too." Her words stirred something deep within Lila. "What do you mean?" she asked, curiosity edging her voice. "Sometimes we forget our own worth in the process of helping others," the nurse said gently, organizing some supplies beside the bed. "But your story is just as important. Don't lose sight of it." Lila nodded, feeling the truth of the nurse's words sink into her heart. It wasn't just about Charles and Thomas, it was about her too. She had a life filled with hopes, dreams, and stories waiting to be told. As the nurse walked out, Lila glanced at the drawings in the journal again. She could almost hear Charles's voice, rich with laughter and wisdom, urging her to stand tall. Inspired, she pulled out her phone and began drafting a message to Thomas. "I want to share more of your father's stories with you. They're not just his, they're ours too." Minutes felt like hours as she waited for a response. Her thumb hovered over the send button, worry creeping in. What if he wasn't ready? What if he couldn't forgive the past that had kept them apart? Just then, her phone buzzed. The screen lit up with his name. "I'll be back later." "You should have a little time?" Heart pounding, Lila quickly replied, "Yes, please. I have so much to share." As she looked towards the window, the orange hues of the setting sun cast a warm glow across the room. She could feel the energy shift within her. This was at the moment to bring forth their shared histories, to begin crafting a new legacy from the remnants of pain. Then, in the back of her mind, doubt lingered. Could they truly confront their pasts, lay bare the emotions that had held them captive for so long? When Thomas finally returned, Lila felt a surge of anticipation mixed with anxiety. His eyes reflected uncertainty and curiosity, and Lila knew their moment to rise together was near. "What now?" he asked, stepping inside and taking a deep breath. Lila clasped the journal in her hands, heart steadying for what was to come. "Now, we start to tell the truth, both of us." And as she opened the pages, the weight of their histories poised to collapse, she could only wonder what secrets would unravel next, and if they could truly find solace in the truth they were about to confront. The sun dipped lower, painting the walls with a golden glow, as Lila took a deep breath. She fanned through the pages of the journal again, allowing the moment to hang heavy in the air. There was so much left unsaid, but now it was all about to change. "Lila, what's in there?" Thomas's voice was softer now, almost tender. He stepped closer, joining her in the glow of twilight. His eyes scanned the sketches, the captured moments of joy, sorrow, and everything in between. "That's your father's life?" Lila said slowly, her fingers brushing over a detailed drawing of a family picnic. "His laughter, his love, everything he wanted to share but couldn't." "I never knew he could draw," Thomas murmured, squinting at the images. "He didn't talk much about himself. He was protecting something, hiding a piece of himself." Lila met Thomas's gaze. "But maybe it's time we uncover that together." For a moment, silence enveloped them, filled with the unspoken weight of loss and the glimmer of hope. Lila could feel the vulnerability that pulsed between them, a connection growing stronger with every shared breath. "Can we really do this?" Thomas asked, his voice fragile. "Can I face him even if it's just his memories?" "You aren't alone," Lila reassured him. "I'm right here. If we dive into his stories, maybe we can find out who he really was and who we are because of him." Thomas nodded, determination lighting up his features as he settled beside her. "Okay." Let us start then. What do you want to share first? Lila opened the journal to a page filled with bright colors, a birthday celebration illuminated with laughter. This was a day your dad wanted to remember. Look at the joy in those faces, Thomas, your parents. They really loved each other. A short chuckle escaped Thomas's lips, but soon it turned into a pained smile. Yeah, it's hard to think of them like that. I remember the fights more than the laughter. Those moments matter too. They paint the full picture. Lila's heart raced as she continued. Your dad had dreams, ambitions. He wanted you to know him beyond the pain. He wrote it all down. Hours slipped by as they journeyed through the pages. Lila read aloud snippets of his father's thoughts, moments of vulnerability, and aspirations that had been tucked away. Each word seemed to build a bridge between the years they'd lost and the future they now had the chance to reclaim. And then, as she turned to a page toward the back, something unexpected caught her eye. An envelope tucked into the journal's spine. What is this? She asked, pulling it free. The edge was yellowed, clearly old, and it trembled in her fingers. A letter? Thomas leaned closer, breath suspended in anticipation. Lila carefully opened it, the crack of the paper echoing in the quiet room. A wave of unease filled her as she began to read. Dear Thomas, she began, her voice barely above a whisper. The words spun an intricate web of emotions, secrets long buried, and truths that could shift everything. What she read next shook her to her core. An incredible secret, one that could either bind them closer or tear them apart. As she looked up at Thomas, his face drained of color, she knew they had reached a turning point. Thomas, this isn't just about your father anymore. Lila's voice faltered, as the weight of the revelation loomed large between them. And just then, the door creaked open again, revealing the nurse from before, her eyes bright with a knowing light. Everything all right in here? She asked. Lila felt a shiver run down her spine. As the secrets hung in the air, she realized that the real journey was just beginning. What would they do with the knowledge concealed within those pages? The nurse's presence was almost tangible, her watchful eyes scanning the room. Lila held her breath, the atmosphere thick with uncertainty. She glanced at Thomas, who looked as if he were about to crumble under the weight of the letter in her hands. Yes, we're fine, Lila managed to say, her voice shaky. But was it true? Could they possibly be fine after what they had just uncovered? Just doing some reading together. But even Lila could hear the tremor in her tone. The nurse nodded, seemingly unfazed by the tension, and lingered for just a moment longer before retreating back into the hallway. Once the door clicked shut, time warped again. What does it say? Thomas's eyes were wide, his breath quickening. He was on the precipice of something monumental, something that could rewrite everything he thought he knew. Lila swallowed hard and took a moment to center herself. It talks about love, but in a way you might not expect. She hesitated, glancing back to the yellowed paper, the ink still legible, still whispering truths she couldn't fully digest herself. Your dad, he had more than one family to think about. A shadow passed over Thomas's features. What do you mean? More than one family? He took a step closer, almost as if the physical distance could dissipate the confusion that loomed over them. I think there's someone else, she confessed, the words tasting bitter as she uttered them. Someone he loved deeply. The letter continued to reveal pieces of a story, a woman he had met before settling down with Thomas's mother, secrets rooted in passion but blossomed in guilt. Thomas's expression shifted from confusion to raw pain. That can't be true. My mom would have known. His voice quivered, brow furrowed deeply as reality cracked open beneath him. He wanted you to know, Thomas, perhaps as a way to explain his absence, his distance at times. Lila's heart ached for him. She reached out, brushing her fingertips against his arm. He believed love could stretch beyond one person. It might not make sense right now, but it was real to him. His eyes glistened with unshed tears, and Lila could feel her own pulse racing. The weight of the letter was heavy, almost oppressive, yet it felt like a doorway opening to something they had both needed. "I don't want to believe that," he breathed, shaking his head. "I don't want to know any of this. I only want to remember him as someone who loved my mom." His voice cracked, emotion spilling over the edges of his resolve. "But what if this is a way for you to see a fuller picture of who he was?" Lila prompted gently. "Sometimes, the truths we hide are there to help us understand our own stories. Even in pain, there's a chance for connection." Thomas took a deep breath, his chest rising and falling with the weight of their shared discovery. "This could rip everything apart," he said quietly. "Or it could mend what has been broken," Lila countered softly. "You can choose how to hold this knowledge, Thomas. It's your story too. Maybe some secrets are meant to be unearthed, especially if they lead us to love." His head drooped in thought, and Lila could feel the magnitude of their moment, the choice that lay before him. In the stillness, she watched him wrestle with his thoughts, the man he was and the man he could become. "What happens next?" he finally murmured, almost as if the words belonged to someone else. "I think we have to decide if we want to read more, if we want to understand all that this means. Are you ready?" As his gaze met hers, Lila felt the tremors of possibility dance in the air around them. Thomas stared into the distance, the hope and dread swirling within him like a storm. "Let us go on," he whispered, and the profound urgency hung heavy between them. With each page that lay ahead, they would either find solace or unravel truths buried too deep for too long. Lila couldn't shake the feeling that unlocking the past could reshape not just Thomas's memories, but also their connection. Just then, a flicker caught her eye, an intricate symbol drawn above the final line of the letter. It looked remarkably like a family crest. As Thomas leaned closer, she felt a spark of recognition wash over her. "Wait, do you see this?" she asked, unable to contain her curiosity now. "What is it?" Lila's hands trembled as she traced the symbol, realizing that perhaps this was just a forgotten memory. It felt like a clue leading them toward an even larger secret, and in that moment, the air crackled with tension, leaving them both breathless, ready to uncover whatever lay hidden next. Lila's heart raced as she traced the ornate lines of the crest, every curve whispering promises of hidden tales. I think I've seen this before," she breathed, her mind racing back to the boxes of keepsakes she had discovered while sorting through her own family's history. The crest felt familiar, like a puzzle piece finally locking into place. "What do you mean?" Thomas leaned in further, the pain in his eyes overshadowed by an inkling of hope. "The library. I think I saw a similar one in an old book about our town's history. It was linked to families that lived here long ago," she said, her voice rising with excitement. "There might be more to learn, more connections. If your dad had ties to this family." Thomas shifted, the wheels turning in his mind. If this crest means something, maybe I should be looking not just for who he loved, but what he was a part of. What if there's more than just secrets of love? His brow furrowed, and Lila felt a swell of determination melding with his despair. That is right. She could see it coming together for him, the pieces beginning to fit. It could lead us to the truth about everything. And who knows? Maybe this woman wasn't someone to fear, but someone to understand. A flicker of uncertainty crossed his face again, but it was quickly replaced with resolve. "All right then. When do we go? We need to figure this out, together." "Now?" Lila asked, unable to conceal her own eagerness. "Yes. Let us not wait," he replied, urgency spilling from his words. The letter felt lighter in her hand suddenly, as if the secrets waiting to be uncovered had been waiting for this very moment to reveal themselves. The two of them rushed through the hospital halls, dodging the occasional nurse and doctor, laughter mingling with tension. As they stepped into the serene daylight outside, the world seemed to breathe more openly. The air was thick with possibility. "Where's the library?" Thomas asked, determination etched across his features. "It's about a mile from here." "We can walk it," Lila said, feeling an exhilarating mix of dread and excitement. As they made their way, each step fueled their resolve. Thomas confided fragments of his childhood, happy memories tainted by shadows of unanswered questions. Lila shared her vulnerability, her desire to connect with her own fragmented past. It felt like they were stitching their own stories together as they approached the library. Once they entered, the smell of old books wrapped around them, an embrace of history. "Okay, let us find a book," Lila whispered, scanning the shelves with urgency. As she pulled a dusty volume from the shelf, the spine cracked like a whispered secret. With trembling fingers, she turned through the pages, revealing photographs and drawings of families she had only ever seen in sketchy old black and white images. And there it was, the crest. The clarity struck her. "Here! Look!" She pointed at a depiction of the same emblem, nestled among descriptions of townsfolk from decades past. Thomas leaned over, eyes wide with disbelief. This is real. It means something." The realization washed over him, a mixture of pride and dread. These forgotten families had a voice. "And it means your father was part of something bigger than we thought," Lila said, her heart pounding with the weight of the moment. "This could help you understand him better. You have to feel this, it's yours." Just then, a glimmer of something caught Lila's eye in the margins of the page, a handwritten note. She squinted, brushing aside some dust. "Wait, there's more." "More?" Thomas's voice shook slightly, and Lila held her breath, feeling the thrill wash over her. What had they just stumbled upon? "Let us find out," she said, flipping to the page with renewed urgency. As the secrets of the past threatened to spin out before them, Lila felt that familiar crackle in the air again, hinting at greater revelations. How much more was out there? And what new truths would they have to face once they unlocked them? The note was faint, but Lila's heart raced as she leaned closer, her breath catching in her throat. The ink was smudged, but she could make out the neatly penned words. "To those who seek the truth, know that blood binds us, but love always leads us home." "What does that mean?" Thomas asked, his voice barely above a whisper. He was on edge, as if the weight of the words could crush him. "I'm not exactly sure," Lila replied, feeling a blend of excitement and trepidation. The note hinted not just at connections, but a legacy of love and sacrifice that stretched beyond their current struggle. "Maybe it means your father's life was intertwined with this family, not just through blood, but through something much deeper." Thomas shifted again, processing her words. "It's like a hidden bond one never knew about. What if he left clues? What if this woman, what if she is part of that story?" He leaned over, eyes scanning the rest of the page frantically. As Lila moved to help him, she noticed something else, a small sketch barely visible in the corner. Squinting, she realized it was a map. "Look!" "A map?" she exclaimed, nudging the page. Thomas's gaze snapped back to the drawing, and together they studied the intricate lines meant to guide them somewhere. "This looks like it's leading to the old estate." His voice trembled, as if a ghost from the past was beckoning him closer. The estate was a long-abandoned mansion on the outskirts of town, a place filled with rumors and half-remembered stories. "Do you think it's where they lived?" Lila asked, gripping the edge of the table. The mention of that estate sent chills down her spine. It was as if they were being summoned to unearth a buried treasure of memories. "Could be. If that woman was significant to my dad," the words hung heavy in the air, fraught with possibility. Lila's mind raced. This was more than just a hunt for closure. It was a chance to understand not just the past, but the people who had shaped who they were today. "What do you want to do?" she asked, meeting his gaze. "I want to find it. I want to know the truth," he replied, determination etched into his features. "Then let us go," Lila said, her own resolve igniting. She could feel the thrill rushing through her veins as they hurried out of the library, the musty smell of ancient knowledge giving way to the vibrant air of possibility outside. They raced down the street, laughter bubbling up between them again, mingling with anticipation. Yet, beneath the excitement lay a vein of apprehension. The very fabric of Thomas's family awaited them. Lila nearly stumbled as they turned onto the overgrown path leading to the estate, half hidden by trees, reminiscent of a fairy tale turned dark. As they stepped onto the property, the air felt charged. Shadows danced across the dilapidated walls, whispering stories of lives once lived, choices made, and secrets kept. "Are you ready?" Lila asked softly, her fingers clasping the map tightly. Thomas nodded, uncertainty crossing his face, but undeterred. "This is the moment. Whatever we find here, it's time to face it." They moved towards the entrance, heartbeats synchronizing in a soft drum of courage. Lila's mouth was dry, and each footfall echoed in her mind like a question what truths lay beyond those doors. And as they stepped inside the darkness, something caught the corner of Lila's eye, a flicker of movement. A figure? Or just a trick of the light? "Thomas, did you see that?" she whispered, her voice barely audible over the creaking wood. "What?" he asked, already taking a cautious step inside. Someone else in here." The chill raced through them both as they exchanged a knowing look. Were they really ready to confront whatever secrets the house held? With a deep breath, they pressed on, the mysteries of the past drawing them deeper into the shadows, each heartbeat heavier with anticipation and dread. What awaited them in the dark corners of the estate? The air inside the estate was thick with dust, and a musty smell wrapped around them like an old blanket, worn yet comforting. The dim light filtered through the cracks in the boarded windows, casting eerie shadows that danced across the crumbling wallpaper. Every step they took echoed like a whispered secret, a reminder of lives long gone. Lila held the map close to her chest, her heart racing at the prospect of what they might uncover. "We shouldn't split up," she suggested, trying to keep her voice steady. Thomas nodded, his expression a mix of curiosity and fear. "Agreed. Let's stick together." They moved cautiously through a narrow hallway, walls lined with faded photographs, the faces trapped in time, but looking out as if still watching their home. Lila felt a pang of sadness. These were once people full of life, now just echoes. "Is this what you imagined when you thought of finding your father as truth?" she asked quietly, her eyes scanning the framed memories. "Honestly? No," Thomas admitted, taking in the sight of the home that seemed to loom larger with every passing second. "But maybe it has to be this way. Maybe there are more answers hidden in darkness." As they ventured deeper, they stumbled upon a parlor room. At first glance, it seemed to be in disarray, with furniture draped in white sheets, as if the house itself was holding its breath. But something sparkled in the far corner, drawing Lila's attention. "Over there," she exclaimed, pointing. They approached cautiously, peeling back the sheet to reveal a small, ornate box. Lila's fingers tingled with excitement as she reached for it, her heart pounding in her ears. Inside the box lay several old letters, their edges yellowed and delicate. Those looked like they could be important. Thomas leaned closer, peering over her shoulder. With trembling hands, Lila picked up one of the letters. It was addressed to a woman named Evelyn, the familiar name echoing in the back of Thomas's mind. "What does it say?" he urged, leaning in. As Lila unfolded the fragile paper, her eyes skimmed the lines, her heart catching as she read aloud. "Dearest Evelyn, I cannot find the words to describe the weight of the bond we share softening." She glanced at Thomas. "It's a love letter." His expression shifted, a spark of recognition lighting up his eyes. "Evelyn, that's her name. She must be the woman from the note. She meant something to my dad." They continued reading, each letter steeped with emotion and longing, enriched with stories of hope amid struggle. The nostalgia almost wrapped around them like a warm embrace, blurring the lines of the past and present. Do you think she could have been the reason your father made the choices he did?" Lila asked, her voice a gentle probe. "It's possible," Thomas replied, his expression darkening. "If she was important enough for him to keep secret." The implication hung in the air, heavy as a cloud before a storm. Suddenly, a loud crash interrupted their moment, breaking the intimacy that surrounded the letters. Both jumped, adrenaline flooding their systems. "What was that?" Lila whispered, eyes widening. "I don't know, but we should check it out." "We can't turn back now," Thomas said, his determination reigniting. With cautious steps, they moved toward the sound, anticipation rewriting their fear into something sharper, more exhilarating. They were on the brink of something monumental, the truth just out of reach. But as they approached the door from where the noise had come, another flicker caught Lila's eye. A movement in the shadows, this time more defined. Someone was watching them. "Thomas," she breathed, her voice barely a whisper. "We're not alone." Were they about to uncover the heart of Thomas's family history, or had they stumbled into danger? The question swirled as they prepared to face the unknown, grasping at the ever-elusive truth intertwined in the threads of love and scars of the past. Lila's breath hitched, and she felt her heartbeat thunder in her chest. They were not alone. The shadows shifted again, and a figure stepped forward, half illuminated by the feeble light filtering in from the hallway. Lila's gut twisted into knots. "Who is there?" Thomas called out, trying to sound braver than he felt. The voice that emerged from the darkness was soft, almost melodic, yet filled with an old strength. "Easy there, young ones," the voice said. An elderly woman, bit with age but fierce in demeanor, emerged from the shadows. "You don't want to go scaring the ghosts of this place, miss?" Lila stuttered, her eyes adjusting to the figure's presence. "I'm Clara. I used to work for the family many years ago. This house it has stories, and much more than you two realize." Clara's eyes twinkled with a wisdom that had weathered storms. "What are you doing here?" Thomas asked, still clutching Lila's arm, half in protection, half seeking reassurance. "Keeping watch, I reckon. This estate has picked up its share of secrets over the years," Clara replied, her gaze piercing as it flicked between the letters and the two young adventurers. "And it seems you stumbled upon one of the biggest. What do you know about Evelyn?" Thomas's voice was firm. There was a desperation there, a need to connect the past with the present. Clara's face softened, and she stepped closer. Evelyn was a bright light in this dark place. She had a spirit that lit up the corners of the house, much like you two do now. But there was heartache too. Heartache that lingers still. "What happened to her?" Lila asked, her voice trembling slightly. "Some love stories are complicated, dear. Evelyn loved your father, but things didn't go as they should. It was a different time, a time when love could get lost under the weight of family expectations," Clara said slowly, the words pouring forth, as if she had been holding them in for years. Thomas's breath caught in his throat. He had spent so long searching for answers, never realizing they might be standing right in front of him, wearing the face of a childhood memory. "What did my father do?" "Your father made choices," Clara continued, "the kind that he thought would protect you all from more pain, but sometimes shielding can cost us dearly." Lila felt the air thicken around them, as if Clara's words were weaving a spell. A sudden crack of thunder rumbled outside, shaking the foundations of the old house. The storm seemed to echo the tension in the room as Lila glanced at Thomas. The mix of hope and fear was palpable, hanging between them, like a thread that might snap at any moment. "Did Evelyn have a child?" Thomas asked, his voice no louder than a whisper. He was almost afraid of the answer, afraid of what was at stake. Clara hesitated, her gaze drifting to the ceiling, a vault of memories only she could touch. That's the secret that drives you here. Each family carries its burdens, but it's how you lift them that matters. Thomas looked at Lila, uncertainty and curiosity swirling wild within him. They had come to unravel a mystery, but what if the truth was more than they bargained for? Clara, Lila said, taking a step forward, we need to know. What else can you tell us about Evelyn and our families? What else happened here? The old woman's expression shifted, determination flickering in her eyes. There is something buried deep within these walls that can bring light to your shadows. But first, you must confront what lies ahead. As she spoke, the floorboards creaked ominously behind them, a reminder that time was running short. Perhaps, they not only had to face the darkness of the past, but also whatever secret lingered still in the depths of this estate. Was it the truth that could heal Thomas's family, or something more dangerous waiting to be uncovered? The night was thickening around them. One thing was clear: they were about to step into something far bigger than they had ever imagined. Would they find the light through the shadows, or would the darkness swallow them whole? The old mansion seemed to breathe alongside them, the walls thick with the weight of unspoken words. Clara's presence was grounding, yet her stories edged them toward the unknown. Thomas's eyes glistened with a mixture of hope and fear. "What do you mean by confront?" he asked, urgency rising in his voice. Clara's gaze intensified, fingers tapping against her chin as if searching her own memories. "There are truths buried here literally and figuratively. Secrets that could reshape the very understanding you have of your father and yourself." A stormy wind rattled the windows, adding to the tension brewing in the room. Lila felt the anticipation crackling in the air. "We're ready," she said boldly, though part of her quaked at the enormity of their quest. She shared a glance with Thomas, the resolve between them strengthening. "Very well," Clara nodded, her expression softening with something akin to respect. "Follow me." She turned and headed deeper into the estate, each step a quiet calling toward the past. As they walked through dim hallways, their hearts thundered, filled with the weight of what they might uncover. Clara led them to a room at the back of the house, a heavy wooden door standing slightly ajar. The shadows felt thicker here, like they held their breath, feared what might stir within. "Inside lies what once was hidden," Clara murmured. "Can you bear to accept whatever you find?" Thomas inhaled deeply, a sudden rush of courage filling him. "We can face it together," he said, reaching for Lila's hand. She squeezed it tightly, a silent promise passing between them. With a gentle push, Clara opened the door. A musty room revealed itself, shelves piled high with tattered books and old furniture cloaked in white sheets. In one corner, a large trunk, weathered and worn, caught Lila's eye. It seemed almost lit up in the darkness, pulsing with history. "Open it," Clara urged, her voice steady. Together, Lila and Thomas approached the trunk, trepidation fluttering in their chests. As they unlatched it, a rush of air escaped, old memories swirling around them like ghosts from the past. The trunk creaked, revealing faded photographs and letters, the remnants of lives once richly lived. "Where do we begin?" Thomas asked, his heart racing. Lila picked up a photograph, her breath catching in her throat. It was a picture of Evelyn, young and radiant, standing beside a man who looked just like Thomas. They were genuine smiles, an echo of joy that felt so real in that moment. "It's you have her eyes," she whispered, her own heart swelling with kinship. "Evelyn loved your father more than anyone realized," Clara said softly, letting the past unfurl like petals before them. "But life made them choices, choices that tore them apart." As Thomas leafed through letters soaked with longing and sorrow, a pattern emerged. Clarity washed over him. These letters are not merely memories. They're cries for acceptance, for love that never faded. His fingers trembled, handling each piece with reverence. Then, a letter slid from his grasp, fluttering to the floor. Lila reached down to pick it up and froze. The letter addressed to Thomas. It's from your father, she gasped, her heart racing. Thomas opened it, trembling slightly as he read aloud, "My dearest son, if you find this, I hope you understand that love has many faces." His voice broke off, emotions thundering through him. Love, what did he want to share? All eyes turned expectantly toward the words unfolding like a map, leading them to a destination yet unknown. The room felt alive, the walls echoing the possibilities of reconciliation, forgiveness. Lila glanced at Clara, who nodded knowingly. This is more than a search for the truth, it's a journey toward healing. You hold the keys to unlocking your own stories. Tears brimmed in Thomas's eyes as he processed everything his father was just hiding secrets. He layered his love in complexities that shielded his son from pain. Lila felt an uplifting surge, hope lurking in every corner. Suddenly, the wind whipped through the open windows, rattling the trunk with a renewed energy. "What do we do now?" Lila asked, glancing at Clara, feeling the pull of destiny. "Live the story, embrace the truth," Clara encouraged. "Lean into love, even the messy parts. The shadows can guide you, but it's the light that ultimately heals." With newfound determination, Thomas nodded. "Then let us do this. Let us dig deeper, not just for my father as past, but also for my future." Hand in hand, they stepped forward from the past into a promise. Together they would craft a narrative filled with hope, an ode to love that had long endured the trials of time. As they turned in unison, Thomas felt Lila's strength beside him. "Together, we can honor both sides of our family," he said, voice steady now. With Clara leading the way, they made their way back through the shadows of the estate toward the light, ready to turn the pages of their intertwined histories into a future alive with purpose. This was their moment. A chance to turn pain into understanding, to weave their families together through shared love and acceptance. The air shimmered with hope as they stepped closer to the truth that had long waited for them. And just like that, in the heart of the old estate, they found not just history, but the beginning of a legacy that would ripple through generations to come. It was time to connect with those who came before, to blend their songs into a symphony of healing, and open the door at last to love. Now that you've followed this incredible journey of transformation and healing, you need to subscribe to the channel immediately, so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that will inspire you. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, and show your support for heartfelt content like this. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about this ending. Your voice matters. And don't wait not even one more second to share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation unfold. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.